Today we're going to study for the midterm study guide for SPA 127. We'll start out with what are the three main types of articulation errors? Deletion, distortion, substitution, speech sound production problems, articulation disorder, sound simplification rules that affect a large number of similar sounds, phonological processes error, disruption in the forward flow of speech, fluency disorder, production of a vocal production of a vocal tone due to air passing through vibrating the vocal cords, voice, rhythmic, uninterrupted forward flow of speech, fluency, manner of movement and where it takes place, production, coded system of universal symbols used for communication, language, abnormality of larynx, vocal folds, or velopharynx, voice disorders, difficulty understanding or creating messages, language disorders, impaired swallowing ability, dysphagia, deficiency in sound detection, hearing loss, history of the professions, how and when did they evolve, speech-language pathologies in the 1920s, speech correctionist programs began in the U.S., elsewhere in the beginning in the 20th century. They expanded in 19th century British elocution training programs, and the American Speech Language Hearing Association was formed in 1926. And the Audiologist, they started post-World War II in the 1940s. It was a Splinter specialty of the speech correctionists and ENTs, concerned with the rehabilitating World War II veterans with hearing loss. First official recognized audiology program opened at Northwestern University in 1946. Speech-language pathologies, educational requirements. Master's degree, minimum of 375 clock hours during degree program, a 9-month residency under the supervision of an experienced SLD state license, teaching with pupil service license in some states. Audiologist educational requirements. They require a doctoral degree, 1,820 hours during degree program, full-time clinician experience in the final year, equivalent to the SLP or CFY state license, hearing aid license in some states, and pupil service license in some states. What is the difference between the licensure and certification? Licensure is a legal requirement to practice in all of USA. Certification is an optional credential granted by professional associations like the ASHA or the AAA. Set of rules and principles designed to encourage ethical conduct amongst a group of professionals. Code of ethics. Conflict between two morally correct courses of action, potentially a no-win situation. Ethical dilemma. Interstate agreement streamlining licensure and practice across state lines. Audiologist and speech-language pathology interstate compact. ASLP-IC. Smallest meaningful unit of sounds. Phonemes. Speech sounds that are produced with varying degrees of obstruction or closure at the vocal tract. Consonants. Speech sounds that are produced with relative open or unobstructed vocal tract. Vowels. Pillars of language include phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. Sound structure of and rules of a language. Phonology. Word structure of language combining units of meaning, like word structure rules. Morphology. Stand alone as a complete unit of meaning. Free morphemes. A prefix, suffix, or other add-on that changes the meaning of a free morpheme. Bound. Rules of word, aka grammar. Sentence construction rules. Syntax. Word meanings and lexicons. Semantics. Language function and social communication. Pragmatics. Mean length of utterance and how is it calculated. MLUs. Getting total number of words. Syntax plus semantics equals MLUs. Regional or social differences in language and pronunciation. Dialect. Non-pathological variations in language. Difference. Slower than expected but typical acquisition of language. Delay. Pathological variations in language. Disorder. What is BICS? BICS. Basic interpersonal communication skills. 7 years and under. What is CALP? CALP. Cognitive academic language proficiency. 7 years and above. Collection of neurons in the central nervous system. Tract. Single nervous system fiber. Neuron. Collection of neurons in the peripheral nervous system, PNS. Nerve. Axon parts and functions. The middle is nucleus. Around it is soma. The little dangly thingies are dendrites. This whole thing is an axon from here to here. We have the Schwann cells, the node ranviers, and the axon terminals. Don't forget the myelin sheath. Brain and spinal cord is central nervous system. Cranial nerves and spinal nerves, peripheral nervous system. Primary function of this structure is to protect the airway. The secondary function of the structure is the production of voice. Larynx. What are the brain's 4 lobes? Frontal, temporal, parietal, and occipital. What part of the brain is in charge of personality, social skills, movement, speech, judgment, reasoning, emotional regulation, and executive functions? Frontal lobe. What part of the brain functions memory, combines senses with memory, object recognition, understanding language, art, music, and speech and hearing? Temporal lobes. Brain part that controls depth perception, spatial orientation, receives sensory input, language processing, spatial attention, writing, reading, and calculation. Parietal lobes. Brain part that controls sight, processing, visual information. Occipital lobes. What controls balance, learning, emotion regulation, coordinate movements, and attention. Cerebellum. What part of the brain is in charge of breathing, heart rate, blood flow throughout the body, motor and sensory pathways cross sides of the body from brain to spinal cord, alertness and sleep patterns? Brainstem. What part of the brain is active in spatial attention, depth perception, relay center for information of the body to the brain, consciousness, alertness, and sleep? Thalamus. What part of the brain is in charge of the memory, emotion, and coordination of muscle movement? Basal ganglia. Nerves that primarily connect the brain, brainstem, and structures of the head, neck, and face, and come in 12 pairs. The cranial nerves. Let's talk about the cranial nerves. We have our mnemonic, which will be oh, 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 to feel and to touch and feel very good velvet. Ah, heaven. So we got oh, 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 to touch and feel very good velvet. Ah, heaven. Number 1 is going to be your olfactory sensory. I'm sorry. The first one's going to be the olfactory. Number 2 is going to be your optic. Number 3 is your oculomotor. Number 4 is the trochlear. Number 5 is the trigeminal. Number 6 is the abducen. Number 7 is your facial. Number 8 is your vestibulocochlear. Number 9 is your glossopharyngeal. Number 10 is your vagus. Number 11 is your accessory. And number 12 is your hypoglossal. Now, to know which ones are sensory or motor or both, we have the mnemonic. Some say marry money, but my brother says big brains matter most. So for number 1, you got the olfactory, which is the O, and the S and some. So that would be a sensory. Optic, which is your number 2, is also a sensory. Say. Number 3, oculomotor, is a motor. Mary. Number 4, trochlear, is also a motor. Money. Number 5 is your trigeminal, which is both, but. Number 6 is your abducen, which is a motor. My. Number 7 is your facial, which is both. Number 8 is your vestibulocochlear, which is the sensory. Glossopharyngeal is both. Vagus is both. Your accessory, which is number 11, is motor. And number 12, your hypoglossal, is also motor. Your olfactory nerve, which is your number 1, is in charge of smell, which is a sensory. Number 2 will be your optic, which is in charge of your vision, your eyes. Oculomotor, number 3. It's a motor and it serves the muscles of the eye. Number 4, trochlear. It's a motor, but it serves the superior oblique of the eye muscles. Number 5, trigeminal, which is both sensory and motor. Is a sensory from the face and mouth, motor to muscles of mastication. Number 6, your abducen nerve. It's a motor. It serves the lateral rectus eye muscle. Number 6. You're messed up here. Number 7, your facial nerve, which is both. It's motor and sensory. It serves your muscles of your facial expression, lacrimal glands, and salivary glands. Number 8, vestibulocochlear nerve. It's a sensory. It's in charge of equilibrium and hearing. Number 9, glossopharyngeal. It's both sensory and motor. Serves the pharynx, throat for swallowing, and the posterior third of the tongue, parotid salivary glands. Number 10 is your vagus nerve. It's both sensation from visceral internal organs and parasympathetic motor regulation of visceral organs. Number 11. Accessory nerve is a motor. It serves the muscles of the head and neck and shoulders. And number 12, hypoglossal, serves the muscles of the tongue. It's a motor. Okay? Studying classification of speech sounds. IPA, International Phonetic Alphabet. We use it because we have a symbol for every sound, distortions, including distortions, but the English alphabet is not accurate enough. Context scale, measure. Intelligibility. Coma recovery scale. Cognitive functions after traumatic brain event. Rancho Los Amigos scale. Mild concussion, moderate severe concussion and other injury, and severe is coma. 5 main principles of language interventions. Simulation, model, cue, respond, and plan. Replicating natural environment. Simulation. Providing demonstration of what you want. Model. Response or feedback about production. Cue. Provides reinforcements met and feedback. Respond. Planning care over. Plan. Impairment but following the normal developmental sequence. Delay. Pathological impairment that is not following a developmental sequence. Disorder, like autism. Non-pathological difference or deviations of some standard. Difference. Personal vocabulary, lexicon. Ability to tell a story, written or oral. Narrative. Making it more linguistically complete. Expansion. Add to the root of the production. Extension. Creating a non-literal language such as idioms, metaphors, etc. Figurative speech. General articulation. Intelligibility milestones at age 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of age. 2 and 3 should be able to say P, B, M, D, N, H, T, K, G, W, N, G, F, Y. 4-year-olds should be able to say L, J, Ch, S, V, Sh, Z. 5-year-olds should be able to say R, Z, H, the. And 6-year-olds should be able to say TH like voiceless. Broad language MOU milestones at age 1, 2, 3, and 4-year-olds. 1-year-old, 1-word sentence. 2-year-olds, 2-word sentence. 3-year-olds, 3 to 4-word sentences. And 4-year-olds, longer, more like adult-like sentences. What is speech mechanism? Lungs, respiration, larynx, phonation, and mouth articulation. How is speech produced? Lungs, generally, so basically the lungs, the voice is generated by lung airflow. The larynx, the air pressure increases below larynx until it blows vocal cords apart. Vocal cords, pressure forces air through the vocal cords, creating suctions as we exhale. Vocal folds must vibrate normally as air travels through them. Mouth and nose, coordinated movements mainly by tongue and lip and nasal passages. How do we hear? Hearing occurs in the brain. Number 1, sound waves are collected by the outer ear. Number 2, sound waves travel down ear canal to eardrum, the tympanic membrane. Number 3, Eardrums vibrates from incoming sound waves. Number 4, vibrations move the 3 middle ear bones, malleus, incus, and stapes. Number 5, vibrations are amplified by movement of bones and set into motion to stimulate hair cells in the inner ear. Number 6, movement of the hair cells releases neurochemicals that stimulates the cranial nerve 8. Number 7, impulses move along the cranial nerve number 8 up to the brainstem and finally to the auditory association center in the temporal lobe of the brain. What are main types of hearing loss and underlying of each cause of each type? Sensorineural, damage to the inner cell. So sensorineural, SNHL, damage to the inner ear, hair cells, or the cranial nerve number 8. Conductive, CHL, abnormality of the outer ear or middle ear. Mixed, MHL, inner ear or cranial nerve number 8 damage and outer and or middle ear problem. Parts of the beautiful ear. So we're going to have to know where the external auditory canal is, which is like the entrance of the ear, your tympanic membrane, which is your eardrum. Inside of that, you're going to have your malleus, incus, and stapes, which are auditory ossicles. Then you got number 6, your oval window, which connects to the cochlear. We got the tympanic cavity. We have the lateral, posterior, and anterior semicircular ducts. We got cristae within the ampullae, which is the little crystals that come off the semicircular ducts. We got the saccule, which is the little sac right before the cochlear snail thing. And you got your cochlear duct, your tympanic duct, your vestibulocochlear nerve, and your uterus. Okay. Comprehensive assessment of air and bone conduction and speech provides a diagnosis, audiologist scope of practice only. Evaluation. Predetermine pass or fail criteria, ASHA guidelines. 20 dB only tests about 1K hertz, 2K hertz, and 4K hertz. And the school settings detail process for handing fails, and both audiologist or speech language pathologist scope of practice is screening. Balance system. Your balance system, aka your vestibular system. Hearing balance systems are connected and share a nerve pathway to the brain. The parts of the balance system consist of semicircular canals, utricle and saccule, cochlea. Which one helps to detect head movements such as tilting your head? Your semicircular canals. It detects body orientation with respect to the gravity, such as whether you are sitting up or leaning back or lying down. Utricle and saccule. Main hearing organ is your cochlea. And that is it for today. Thank you.